Okay. How are we doing, everyone? Welcome back to Rushcast, the show where we are doing an album by Rush every single week, and we are going through the whole catalogue, and we will be stopping by side projects and solo albums on the way. And this is episode 14, and we are doing Roll the Bones. I'm Joe, Nightmare Cabin, you know the channel, and I'm joined as ever by my good friend Paul Conroy. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, thanks, Joe. Feeling a lot better. And how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm slightly what's the word? Hungover.
Okay.
Wife went to a wine tasting night last night
nice.
at a vineyard in Chelmsford. I didn't know Chelmsford had a vineyard, but yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
And
nice, very nice.
Well, we didn't leave there till late, basically.
Yeah. And with all of that, did you have a particular favourite? Or did you just enjoy all of it?
We ended up buying a bottle of the Chardonnay and their own fizz that they made.
Oh, okay.
They did a slightly sparkling rosé as well, but we nice enough, but didn't feel the need to buy it. Didn't do any reds though. But
See,
there was a meal upstairs, and it looked like a pretty cool place. So I'll consider going there again. Apparently they do like cream teas and sandwiches and that during the day, like events, teas in the day, and then on a Friday night, only on a Friday night, they do a restaurant. I think it's a 3-course meal and it's set, but it's I'd definitely consider going there on the Friday night for an occasion, you know what I mean? Maybe a birthday or something like that.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
But yeah, we normally record these on Skype, and today we're moving on in the world, and we're going modern, and I've taken the plunge and just joined Zoom. So I prefer Skype, I must say, but I've paid for it now, so I thought I might as well use it. So yeah. So we had a bit of argy-bargy at the beginning. We couldn't hear each other, but we think we've figured it out. And hopefully you can hear us. So yeah, let's carry on. So last week we did Presto, and today we are doing Roll the Bones. We are still, in my opinion, in the REM years. We are in the TV studio. We're in the 90s. But this album is we're starting to go into the winning streak that the band finished with. And bit by bit, it seems like Hold Your Fire went very radio friendly, shall we say. And then bit by bit, we're coming back to the more progressive rock. And but we're still slightly where we were. By the way, there was something someone pointed out, and I wanted to show you this.
Yeah, go on then.
Right. What I want to do as well at the beginning of this, I want to discuss a bit of news, because I think that's...
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
I've not got Hold Your Fire. That's all the way back there. I can't... Right. You know the way Hold Your Fire has got the 3 balls?
Yeah.
So that makes a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
The rabbits at the top here of Presto are in the same sequence.
Is that to represent the 3 members of the band?
Possibly, but they are in the same position that the 3 balls would be in on Hold Your Fire. I just saw that someone pointed that out.
Very astute of that person. Very astute.
So Geddy Lee is on his book tour at the moment, where he's having events where he looks like he's in America at the moment. He's with Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd was in the film I Love You Man, which featured Rush. I don't know if Paul's going to be doing the whole tour, but the tour is well underway, and now every day I'm seeing different articles where Geddy is saying different things to different questions. Well, first off, he is selling his baseball card collection. We don't have that in the UK. I mean, I used to collect wrestling cards. We used to have sticker books, and
Yeah,
I think,
yeah. For me, it was always football coins and all this sort of
yeah,
stuff.
I think the
And,
sticker book thing is still quite common amongst
yeah,
football fans. I don't know if that's
yeah,
a collector's thing. You see
possibly.
films as well where people have got a certain baseball card that's in a vault, and
Yeah,
but apparently Geddy has finished off 2 unreleased songs for this memoir tour. I don't know if they're going to be. And basically, there's talk of a Rush reunion in some way or another. Alex Lyson has said that he would like to get back with Geddy in the studio and just see what happens. And Geddy has alluded to wanting to play again, wanting to tour again.
Yeah.
And then there's the big, will it be Rush or won't it be Rush? And then who's going to be the man behind the kit? I think for my money, if it was ever to happen, I've got a bit of hair sticking up. That's annoying me. And
I'm afraid you're not going to get any sympathy from me.
yeah, that's annoying. That's like an alfalfa. Here we go. I've got it. And yeah, my bet for my money, I would have said Michael Portnoy, but Michael Portnoy is the massive news that he's rejoined Dream Theater. I don't think Mike's going to take any risks of playing for anyone ever again, because that's what happened. That's really what kicked it off. He was doing all these different side projects on the side and joining this band, and he'd stepped into Avenged Sevenfold because their drummer had died, and he said, "I'll do the next album and tour for you to keep the band moving."
Yeah.
And the band went, "No, we want to carry on. Thank you very much. Like, you are in this band after all." And he went, "Well, I want to break." And I went, "Well, we don't want to break." And I think Michael Portnoy just sort of slammed his stick down and went, "Well, I'm leaving then." Thinking that they were going to go, "No, don't leave." And they went, "Yeah, go on then." And I think he I think they called his bluff and he kind of had to. So he's rejoined now, eating humble pie. And I think he's got his tail between his legs. And yeah, I don't think Michael Portnoy is going to go, "I'm going to have another year off and tour with Rush." So it seems like the favourite now, bookie's favourite, is Danny Carey. Is that his name? From Tool.
From Tool. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
But it's all speculation at this point.
It is all speculation. I mean, I looked at those.
But he's constantly being asked. And my regardless of, I mean, we'll get into what we think about it in a minute, but with the discussion of any band reforming, Pantera now are touring and playing some pretty big festivals with Zakk Wylde on guitar and Charlie Benenti on drums. So the Pantera can tour without the Abbott brothers, because both the Abbott brothers are dead now. And my thing is, again, whether you like it or not, you can debate that. But the fact of the matter is, Queen have sold out Wembley Stadium without Freddie Mercury. All bets are off. That's just how it is.
It is.
So, yeah. What are your thoughts, Paul? Would you be happy to see Alex and Geddy again?
Well, yeah. I think so. I think something Jack Black said is, as long as what they produce is still of that standard and there's still plenty of sauce coming out of the bottom and they've got some good ideas, then why not? You know, it's I know that Alex is recovering from stomach surgery, I think, so he's going to be out of action for a while anyway, and Geddy's obviously doing this book tour, so I think you're looking well into next year.
Yeah, of course.
And probably the back end of next year. Yeah, I think if they're going, it would interest me if they are going to get one drummer to do it, or whether they will go the route of guest drummers, having drummers doing this song and that song and have a
They could do either. Or I think
they could a guesting thing.
it would
When it
probably
comes to with touring though, I don't know logistically what that would.
I think if they were going to do a full tour, they're going to have to stick with one, aren't they?
Yeah,
Because they
I
can't
think
do
so.
multiple every night because
No,
of just the practice and the.
well, it's not that, and it's also the paying. It's at
Yeah.
the end of the day, people need to be paid.
If
So
it's a select couple of shows, they could probably get a multitude of drummers, and no doubt drummers would be queuing up to do it. So that's not
I
going to be a
think so.
problem.
Which I think is what happened, wasn't it? They did something and of looking at those.
Well, so the one we're in now, Deaf. They did what originally was meant to be a couple of shows, and because Deaf went through quite a few lineup changes, and they had two guys swapping vocals, vocals and guitar, and then they had multitude of drum. They had two drum kits. One would come up and do a couple of songs, and another one would come on a couple of songs. I think there was two drummers that did pretty much this concert between them, and then constant loads of different guitarists and bass players, etc. But then when it came to doing the tour, they had to settle on a lineup because they said, well, we can't have that many people going from country to country. It's just going to be a nightmare. So
I think it's a case of being open to it, and obviously Rush are not going to get. They're going to get someone good to come in because
exactly.
They've got to be someone who is good and who can do a fair rendition of everything that Neil did.
Would it be? Yeah, I mean, I think you can. It's one thing to play the concerts and just hear those songs again, which I think they're more well within their rights to be playing.
Well, of course,
Alex and Geddy formed Rush when they were more or less when they were in school. And I don't think you can just put it down and leave it.
No, but, I don't think so, and I don't think there's any. I dare say, like many other Rush fans, I think I'd be delighted to see them do something. It's obviously a different chapter, and I think it's not only drumistically that it will be interesting to see what another drummer or drummers would do with their music. But it's also the big question is, where are the lyrics going to be coming from?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. I mean, whoever it is, they're going to be they've got to be very brave because they could potentially be handed a poison chalice.
In that respect, yes.
But when it comes to the lyrics as well, I would pretty sure I would say that Neil has left a bunch of lyrics behind.
There could be
some. It must have been. There must be a stack of notebooks that they could put some stuff together. Maybe they could write some stuff of their own as well. There's plenty on both Alex and Geddy's plate. I mean, and that could be written as a tribute to Neil. I mean, I remember when Alice in Chains first reformed with a new singer, and it was, how could they do it without Lane Staley? And that first album was about Lane Staley. Lane was very much, his presence was on that album because a lot of the songs were about him, and it's an album about grief, really.
Yes.
And the last track is a goodbye to him, and I thought that was a good way to go about it. And I remember at the time it was quite a dividing subject, but the bands were quite. There was one interview where he just said, "It happened to us. He was our singer. He was our friend. If you can't get on, it was us that had to do that first rehearsal and that first show. If we can get over it, you can as well. And when we wouldn't have done it if it hadn't have felt right. And like I say, there was a big, opening. They did 2 shows in Seattle where they were from, and Lane Staley's mother and sister were at those shows. So it's like, well, because I remember arguing with someone about it, and I went, right, so his mum and his sister can go to a show, but you can't. It's got their approval, but it hasn't got yours, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, it's not the first time it's happened. I mean, look at Rolling Stones when they lost Brian, the guitarist.
Well, they're doing it now without Charlie, aren't they?
They're doing it now. They're doing it now without Charlie, as well. And and also the one that comes to me, because it was sort of fairly prevalent at the time, the only band that never did it and carried on was Led Zeppelin. But of course, Bon Scott, AC/DC, Back in Black was really a tribute to him as well, a very small tribute to him, dying in such tragic circumstances. So I don't, sadly, it's nothing new. And I'm sure that there are listeners on this who can think of other bands that they're really into who have lost members of the band. I've been the same with regards to Yes and Chris Squire passing away, and now Alan White has gone, but they're carrying on. And I don't see, if Alex and Geddy want to continue this, then they obviously feel that they've still got something to say musically, and obviously something that they want to still do. And perhaps they're getting withdrawal symptoms after this time as well.
I mean,
sorry, John.
Again, I don't want to be an internal optimist, because look at Black Sabbath's 13. It was, everyone complained about how sort of lackluster that album was. It's like, yeah, but you weren't going to leave it until they did, were you? You weren't going to be happy until they did an album. Yeah. And now the album's not all that. Well, you all demanded that you got one. Anyone could have told you it wasn't going to be the same.
And you got one.
Yeah.
I think I know that both of them, both Geddy and Alex, have said, oh no, they can't do it. And they said that initially. But like all of us, they're entitled to change their minds and opinions about all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
I whatever it is, whatever we've got in our heads as to what it will look like, the thing that is going to be absolutely certain, it will not be the same as it was when Neil was alive.
No.
If Rush do the album, if Rush do a tour, I reckon the tour will be very, very small. I really don't think it'll be, you're not looking at a massive world tour, 100 odd dates and all of this sort of thing. I'd be very, very surprised if they did that. I think it'd be more toned down, I would have thought, because at the end of the day, they're not getting any younger either. So they've got to tailor it so that it's something that suits them now and that they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, but I would say, yeah, great. Go for
it. We trust them.
Yeah.
And let them get together and play on their own first. And if something comes of it, I think they know what they're up against, and they know, the standards they have to meet. And if it's not there, I think they'll be the first to admit it's not there. And
I think if it isn't up to scratch in their minds, they'll just pull the plug on it.
Yeah, but if it is and they feel good doing it, then I think the audience trust them enough to give what they put out a go.
Yeah, and obviously for those fans who have become fans who never saw Rush live, then this is the next best thing.
Well, this is what we're getting now with the Pantera shows. Yeah,
exactly. So good for them, and hopefully they will come to the right decision for them. Really, I think that's really what
watch this space.
I think it is a case of watch this space with it, and let's see.
Right, okay, let's get into the review then. So, Roll the Bones was...
Yeah, is that the album we're doing? Yes, it is.
When was it? I've got me my little notebook here.
Yeah.
So released in 1991.
Yeah.
And yeah, this sounds like it was released in 1991. It's just got a 90s feel to it. Even playing this in the car, my wife was, this from the 90s. Yep. Yeah. So I've got pretty good introduction here. They've got the two when normally people, I don't really need to go into that, but I'll read you this bit out, and I think this will get us going. It's amusing that Roll the Bones shares with 2112 the idea of career rejuvenation for Rush. Caresses Still and Presto were respective preceding relatively hitless stumbles. And so in the fall of 1991, Rush returned with a record that on a material plane was not so much different from its predecessor, Presto, an unsure happenstance underscored by the fact that the uptight Rupert Hine had returned as a producer. But lo and behold, Presto stalls gold, and Roll the Bones returns the band to platinum status on the across-the-board strength of songwriting, most pertinently the classic spirited Rush opener Dreamline and the title track, which attracts too much attention for its fairly inconsequential rap, and not the fact that it's a completely catchy, well-appointed song construct, handsomely housing some of Alex's most incisive acoustic guitar. What's more, Neil came up with sharper pan album concept, so brilliantly exemplified by Hugh Symes Junior Award-winning cover art. Dice for Miles, and we're off to the casino where Neil is waxing eloquently on the fact that if there appears to be a chance at a good fortune, roll them bones. Take the chance with a little luck and a little hard work, i.e. the loading of the dice, we can achieve our goals. The amusing spot of irony here is that Rush was perhaps taking a chance with their career by not taking a chance at all. Delivering what is on paper a pretty similar album to its fizzled predecessor, or where they'd taken a chance on ignoring what was going on in the music industry. A resurgence of heavy sounds with the Seattle scene, we were just talking about Alice in Chains, continuing to deliver obsessive compulsive Swiss watch music for a 5th year straight. As rock and roll invariably and ruthlessly proves time and again to be a young man's game in terms of record sales and coolness factor, Rush would become also ran as the 90s ground on. And so Roll the Bones represents one more little victory for the Cane Rock elders in that it was brought by a million Americans. It was bought by a million Americans, even if it would be the last officially certified platinum record of their career. But hey, weep not for Rush. There furthermore remained the concert juggernaut of a juggernaut of a relentless and show spectacular nature. There you go. So you think that was the thing that point jumped out for me there was they took a risk by not taking a risk at all. They're just sticking to their guns on this one rather than.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was an interesting release when I got it. It sort of was more of the same. It was sort of this, because this is the second and last album that they worked with Rupert Hine. So almost within themselves, just a tiny little era within Rush anyway. I just listened to what you were saying about that from what you've got. It says this album continued along the trend of its predecessor, and then Peart starts to incorporate some aspects of offbeat poetry which had come to the fore with rap music. So hence that's the nod to it in the title track, which we'll get to. It says here, after the anomaly of Presto, Roll the Bones restarts the trend of Rush producing albums with a single overarching theme, and each song focuses on a different form of fortune, whether it is literal luck of the dice, the luck of one, the luck one makes for themselves, or simply chances that we all find by virtue of the place of our birth or where we happen to be at that time in our lives. So I think this is another step, as you've said, back to where we'll say back, but on their continuing journey, they've gone so far one way, they're almost retracing their steps here. And yeah, I think with this album, I think it's a really good. I enjoyed the album. I enjoyed this album. I don't know what your thoughts are about it. I suppose we'll find that out as we're going through the songs. If you want to kick on with the songs, let's go into it. I've got nothing more to say at the moment.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag for me, actually. The stuff I like on this I really like, and the stuff I don't I can do without. But
yeah, I think that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. But there are a couple of cracking numbers on this album for me, anyway. I really love a couple of these songs.
Okay, well, Dreamline. This starts off for me as a real. When I discussed in previous albums, you want an album opener, and this is a great Rush album opener. You know, it's got a great little the way the song's structured, the way it kicks in. It's got a nice, cool introduction where it's kind of like a ticking clock, and then bang, and then Neil's drums kick in. I like the dan 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 that it comes back to, and it's a real, it's a doors blowing open kind of album opener, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think so. But I like the intro because it's quite understated, but you're getting that, as you say, like that ticking clock. But it's and that's through Alec Lifeson's very spiky sounding guitar, and you've obviously got the metronomic rhythm of Peart behind it, and the bass. I mean, the bass is just rumbling along there, and it gives all this space for the vocals. And then you say, once it kicks in with them big chords, bang, bang, bang. It's almost like a fanfare. But the choruses are big, aren't they? I mean, they really sound powerful, and they're being pushed along by Peart. Again, I really like his drumming on this particular song as well, because it just gives it so much life. Not that it's unlively without it, but of course it obviously just pushes the whole thing along wonderfully well. And what did you think of the lyrics on this?
I was just about to allude to the lyrics, actually. Yeah, it's I like the lyrics. It suits the song as well, but it's got a nice it's a big open road.
Yeah,
it pictures a vehicle of some sort hitting the road and joining a chase or something like that. We're only alone when we're only at home when we're on the run. And a really good lyric towards the end as well is we're only immortal for a little limited time.
Yeah, that's the lyric that does sort of leap out at you, doesn't it? It's just so much in there, isn't it, on all of this. I'm looking at the notes I've got here. This was the lead single.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and peaked at #1 in the US mainstream rock charts. So it certainly opened the album well, and obviously it proved to be popular anyway. It says Lee's lower vocal register is brought to the fore while performing a lyric that drifts between terrestrial imagery of day-to-day life and the awesome abstractions of dreams. Whether these dreams become reality is, in concert with the album's theme, a matter of luck, and indeed whether chances that present themselves are taken up. Deep into their career, with 13 albums behind them, the line, "We're only immortal for a limited time," is apt, though certainly premature with regard to the band's career. And basically, this is just, I haven't really read this properly, but Peart's drumming brings an urgency and energy into a song that is otherwise carried largely by Lee's vocals. The arrangement, which features a minimum of musical extravagance, is a case of distilled and efficient songwriting. The piece is a simple and powerful opener with a satisfying lyric. I like the ebb and flow of this song as much as it's powerful, but I like the way it goes down into the solo section and just sort of gradually builds up again. Again, it just gives that space for license soaring solo on this one.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a good feeling song, and actually one of my latter day favorites of theirs. And it wasn't just played on this tour, it was played quite a lot from here on, really. So it was regarded as a latter day classic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd
anyway.
open the initial show with this song, but I'd certainly, because at what point did they start doing 2 sets?
I think they started to do 2 sets more towards, I don't know if it was Test for Echo or whether it was Vapor Trails.
Right.
I can't remember. It might.
Well, what I was going to say was I would open the second set with this. I think that'd be a good.
Yeah.
Well,
I think they did. I think they did open. I don't know. They didn't open it on this tour. They didn't open with it on this tour, but I think on other tours they did open with this number.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying they opened every time.
No.
I certainly never see them open with it. It was always buried in the set.
Yeah.
But certainly the last few gigs that I saw them, and that would be going back to, I didn't see them on Vapor Trails because they never toured it here. But then it would have been their Feedback tour or their R30 tour.
Yeah.
They were definitely doing 2 sets there.
Yeah.
Definitely. But they were doing 2 sets on the Vapor Trails.
Yeah, because that's the Vapor Trails tour is Rush in Rio, isn't it?
Rush in Rio, which is where they did. But I'm not sure if they were doing that on Test for Echo. I can't remember. To be honest with you, I'd have to look that up.
It'd be on Wikipedia or something like that.
Something like that.
They normally do a typical set list as
well.
So.
Yeah, indeed. But
all right then, so let's move on to Bravado, the nice breezy second song. This is basically just if I said that Dreamline was a song where the vehicle hits the road, that's a good driving song. Well, this is the song where you taking a really nice view whilst on that drive, I think is the best way to describe it. It's got gorgeous solo on it.
Yeah.
Real good tone on the guitar. But yeah, it's just a nice open song. This is open blue skies, nice breezy song. It's the best way I can describe it.
It is, but but it says here that you're taken from that real urgency of Dreamline into, it sort of takes a step backwards tempo wise, and it's more mournful Bravado. Because again, this is more succinct than I would explain it, but this requiem for broken dreams and lost battles remains. Despite its sorrowful tone, it remains hopeful. We can lick our wounds, dust ourselves off, and persist. We will pay the price, but we will not count the cost.
That's a great line. Yeah,
again, another great line. This line, taken with permission from John Barth's, Barths, Tidewater Tales, is the song's second literary allusion after the song's first line, which references the mythical Icarus and his fatal hubris. It says the band themselves regard this song as one of their best marriages of lyric and music, and have each separately referred to it as one of their favourites on the album. Peart later took inspiration from his own lyric after a disappointing experience taking part in a Buddy Rich tribute concert. Technical failures and a lack of rehearsal tempted Peart to cut ties with any such project again, but remembering Bravado, he decided to organise the Buddy Rich tribute album Burning for Buddy. He refers to this as the first time I have ever been inspired by my own words. Lifeson's guitar work is also notable in that much of it was taken from the relatively low quality demo tapes. Lifeson also ended up keeping the guitar solo despite its initial function as a simple placeholder. Sorry, there's a bit of a long quote here from Alec Lifeson about the solo. When we were developing the arrangements in the writing stages, I toss a solo on tape so we have something to listen to. It's late at night, the lights are down low, and I'm by myself. These were supposed to be throwaway solos, but when it was time to do the real solos, Neil had already adjusted his parts to fit what I'd played. So it came down to me trying to recreate everything, which doesn't work. You might improve the sound, but even if you play exactly the same notes, you'll never capture that magic feel. And he goes on to quote, the solos in Ghost of a Chance, which we'll obviously come to, and this song, Bravado, are certainly my favourites on the record, if not among my favourite solos ever. When I listen to them, I hear the way I felt at that time, and that's really the key. But I like this song. So if you already mentioned, brilliant solo on this, really emotive, beautiful solo. But the vocals again, you've got a relatively catchy melodic vocal line on this, which works very well. But the other thing I like is Peart's drumming and the offbeat. I know it's 4/4, but what he's doing on the top with offbeat rides with snare and then offbeat snare hits, especially towards the end, is just really inspirational for me as a drummer to listen to such stuff. And live, whenever they did this, they always would vamp this up a little bit at the end, and it would go a little bit more jam like.
Yeah,
they had more toms involved, and then brought it back out again just as a bit of a improvisation. So it always went down well live.
Yeah, no, I can see this being a regular.
It was a yeah, and they would play it on quite a few different tours. So yeah, great song, really enjoyed it.
Right, moving on to the title track. This is the one that
oh yes
separates the wheat from the chaff. This one.
Yep.
This has become a bit of a, I don't know, it's kind of universally known for being a bit corny, but it seemed to stay in the band's set as an ironic favorite. And yeah, it's just an odd song because, again, at the beginning you got they're kind of introducing elements of funk, you know, and again, this to me is very 90s. It's the big suits. We talk about 80s fashion, but no, the 90s fashion was horrendous. And I can picture. Do you remember when people used to wear a cap but backwards? So
oh yeah,
Samuel Jackson was the only one that sort of managed to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone was wearing them, especially drummers. Do you remember? And yeah, it's just
not guilty. I didn't.
It always this just brings to mind prime suit years for a rock band. I always go like when the band starts wearing a suit, you know you're in trouble. You feel about Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, David Bowie, and I'm thinking Pink Floyd as well. Do you remember that Delicate Sound of Thunder when there was like 15 people on stage? They had a percussionist that was really over enthusiastic, and they had 5 saxophone players and a load of backing singers, and it's like, where's the band? And Eric Clapton was another one. Yeah. And everyone's wearing suits. And this brings to mind suit era rock music. But with that being said, I do like again, with Bravado, I said it was nice and open and breezy. I do like the open breezy section with the acoustic guitar, and I love the chorus. Why are we here? Because we're here. Roll the bones. Why does it happen? Because it happens. Get on with it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I love that. And then we come to that bit. We come to the dreaded rapping.
Oh yeah, the rapping bit. Well, yes.
Who knows what they were thinking on that one?
Yeah,
But
it's
they
you
have
can't you
managed.
can yeah.
Yeah, they've managed to sort of own it and
Yeah.
go, yeah, we know. And they've kept it in the live show, and it has been like a bit of an ironic. Yes, we know it's crap, but here it is, and the audience go, yeah, we know it's crap, but we're having fun, so to hell with it. And then when it comes to the rap, at first they would put on a skeleton rapping
Yeah,
along,
that was
and
it.
then the
Yeah.
later one I thought was really good is when they got all the celebrities to film the bit with it. So you got the Paul Rudd and the other actor, I forget his name.
Yeah.
You would have Peter Dinklage. You would have a
They'd all
couple of other different people.
Yeah, I can't remember all of them, but they would all say a line with it, and it was all syncopated with.
Yeah, and that was
going.
quite funny as
Yeah,
well.
I think it was okay. Yeah, I think it was very tongue in cheek, and
They've
they would
spun it round.
Yeah,
They've recovered this quite well.
yeah, they were poking fun at themselves, but who would have thought that they would be able to shoehorn a rap section into this? Well, the song itself is like a genre fusion, isn't it? As you said, you've already said, like it's rock and funk and folk, even especially with the acoustic guitar. It's got that folk, and then shove in a big spoonful of rap. You know,
it feels like a Michael Jackson song. You know, one of the later Michael Jackson songs.
Yeah, all it misses is the Michael Jackson isms of the old and whatever. You know,
but he would sometimes get a rapper to do a little section in his song because it's fun enough. Michael Jackson and Prince, as talented as they were, both of them, their Achilles heel was they couldn't rap. There was a song where Prince tries to rap and he couldn't be, he could be perfect at everything.
He was fantastic at everything else, but I think
the rap it just wasn't there. And and if you notice, Michael Jackson never rapped, but he would get a rapper inserted into a song. On many occasions actually. But that it kind of again, and that was sort of around the Dangerous era as well. And I think that was 1991 when that album came out.
It may well have been actually.
Probably 92, but we're in that. But again, well done, Rush. 10 out of 10 for trying.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for effort. Not too sure about execution, but I think it was one of those things where we're not going to work. We're not going to really know if it works or not unless we put it out. No. They're the last to find out, really, if something works. It's only...
And they obviously... and obviously being the title track of the song, they were not going to omit it. So it was an interesting experiment, and it was one that they would never do again. Have you got anything in your book or any other? I've got a little
what
bit
the people
this.
were interviewing. They didn't really give much. I thought that opening statement summed things up quite nicely for me. Anyway, nothing else really jumped out.
Let's see if I've got anything here. Says here, the lyric is one that accepts the existence of free will, but also that one's destiny is ever, so that no one's destiny is ever entirely their own decision. There are always unexpected events that can help or hinder us. While we like to take credit for our own success, we tend to blame our failures on external influences. Winners take that praise, losers seldom take the blame. While there are some unanswerable questions, why are we here? Because we're here, and we certainly cannot predict our future. The song is a battle cry of encouragement to the hesitant or fearful. We do not know what will happen, but give it a try, take a chance, roll the bones. While the band were not necessarily fans of the musicality of the genre, Peart had taken influence from the writing of rap acts such as LL Cool J and Public Enemy. Peart was surprised when Leon Lifeson agreed to try and incorporate one of his rap-influenced lyrics into the song. The band took a great deal of time to decide who would perform the part and considered hiring a professional rapper, a female vocalist, the Canadian musician Robbie Robertson, and even Monty Python's John Cleese. Although most of the potential performers were interested in recording the part, the band ultimately opted for the pitch-shifted voice of Geddy Lee, which the band agrees has a longevity that many of the other options would have lacked. It wouldn't have stood the test of time. So quite to make it almost makes Geddy Lee's voice nondescript. But I think the fact
it does have that feel to it. I remember around MTV at the time, or around that time, you would have this sort of early free-stage graphics, and I do remember there was one show where the host was just this 3D animated graphic, like it's computer graphic.
Max Headroom,
something like that. Yeah,
it was Max Headroom, I think. Yeah,
and I remember, yeah, I could imagine just some virtual reality 3D animation going on.
Well,
in the video.
Look what's happening today.
Yeah, but I think they used it pretty well in the later tours when they did it, when on the screens the skeleton riding the dice. I was like, yeah, this is kind of corny, kind of crap, but I like this. They've used it to their advantage. So they, like I say, they turned it round and made a pretty corny song work in their favour.
Yeah. I think, and it's interesting on that rap section. The bass on that is electronic bass that's done on keyboards, and the drums are electronic pads. And so Peart intersperses the electronic drums with the main kit. So that everything's cut right back on that rap, and everything's totally electronic, apart from them little soaring bits of backdrops that Alec Lyson plays on the guitar. I quite like his solo on this one as well, though. I think it's a nice solo again, and I think so far all three songs I can't fault any of the. Well, I can never fault any of the solos anyway, but I think all the solos on these three songs from Alex are all quite memorable. So they got away with something, I think, on this. I think they did, and the fact that they played it on subsequent tours sort of highlights that.
Yeah, with their tongue firmly in their cheek.
Oh yeah, tongue. I'd say I don't know how Geddy would sing this song live with his tongue in his cheek, but he did.
Yeah. All right, let's. That's the painful one out of the way. Face Up. What do we think of this one?
Wow. It's one that you would easily skip over, really. But I don't mind it. I quite like the way it comes in. You got the fairly jangly guitar, and Neil Peart is effectively soloing over the top of it and just hitting the accents with Geddy, and then it comes out quite straight, and you get that really quite high sort of keyboard sequence or melody. Yeah, and it sort of really contrasts to how much the song's pushing along. Really, it makes it sound quite light. There's not much in the book. It just says, obviously, Face Up continues the album's theme of luck and the way we react to chances that we find, with hints of funk, pop, and unexpectedly country. And it has got that, I think it's more that the guitar line, country style, making their way into the song. It's one that the band ultimately felt was less than the sum of its parts. Peart's furiously upbeat drumming blasts are ahead of the rest of the band, who sound somewhat pedestrian behind his impressive performance. I think it is a fairly straight ahead number, really. From what I can glean, and when I've looked up sets and stuff like that, they never played this one live.
No,
I've certainly got no record of it anywhere. I was just looking. Is there anything you wanted to? Anything on the lyrics?
Not really. I think this is a bit of a dud, to be honest. I like the way the song opens, and that little keyboard bit of the thing. Thinks all this is going to be interesting. but I think it falls flat on the chorus. Again, I see men in suits going face up. You know, it's REM. This is the sort of stuff. When Nirvana came out with Smells Like Teen Spirit, they said it killed all those hair metal bands. Yeah, it also killed a lot of clean, sterile, just nothing. What we call dad rock, I think, as well. That crappy alternative that you have. I think bands like Crowded House. I think this is what I'm getting at. You know.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, it also blew a lot of that away, and Rush are getting into danger of falling into that on these last couple of albums. There's only a couple of songs that save them, and
I think so. I think it's, put it this way, that this particular song is not, you wouldn't put it on your A list of Rush songs.
If we was going to form a Rush tribute band, I don't think any of us would be arguing. No,
I think not. I think, just as an aside though, a very tortured, squealy guitar solo on this sort of is, apart from Piot's drumming, is probably the only little bit of excitement on it.
Yeah, I mean, but
it's over as soon as it's begun, sort of thing. It's so quick.
And Neil's drumming's good on it. You know, okay,
yeah.
But
you need it.
It's good on everything.
You need it all to be all there. You know, and I think in this one it's a little bit unbalanced, I guess, is really, I suppose, my own feelings on it.
Moving on, then we've got something that we haven't had for a while, an instrumental.
Yes,
and part 4 of the Gangster of Boats trilogy, which never happens.
No, it's totally fictitious.
Yeah,
it's just, again, Rush's sense of humor.
Rush humor there. And the track is called "Where's My Thing," which is I don't think that's pretty good title for an instrumental. I quite like this. It's quite it's a good little jammy number. It's good guitar on there, good drums. I like how it goes in with the nice keyboards on the what would be a chorus. Quite like this one, actually. I
do. I think, again, it's one that you can, with all their previous instrumentals, it's not out of place there. It's got quite a good quality to it, and I like with all of them, it's unusual time signatures, and they seed them one into another. And on this one in particular, Piot's passion for jazz drumming comes to the fore in that sort of middle section, backed by the synthesized horns that are put on there. He puts in these swinging grooves and stuff like that, which I like. I mean, anything like that is just,
of course,
it's just really put together very nicely. And again, they did play this on a few tours. They didn't, they didn't just do it on this tour. I believe they did. Yeah, they did do it on this tour. I quite like it, and I think it just sort of does what it says on it does what it says on the tin. I think if they'd gone with the rap, it might have been "Where's My Ting?" If they were going to push it that way. It says here the first standalone instrumental to be recorded in over a decade. I didn't realize.
Oh, as long as that, yeah.
It's but it says it retains all the complexities and intensity and the time signature changes and the changes in dynamic and the timbre, as they put it here.
It says it's just as good, actually, as the one on forget the title, the one that's on Moving Pictures.
Oh, YYZ.
Yeah,
I think YYZ is probably regarded higher than this. But I don't mind it. It's just a different flavour.
Yeah, it's just as clever. It's just as involved.
All it says on here, while the piece is characterised by its early 90s production and the significant use of decorative keyboards, it is nevertheless a worthy addition to Rush's instrumental canon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that. It says here in 1992, this song, Where's My Thing, was the second of Rush's works to fail to win the Grammy for Best Instrumental Rock Performance. The band were glad to lose to their friend and opening act for part of their Roller Bones tour, Eric Johnson, with his piece, Cliffs of Dover. Never heard it, so that'd be interesting. Yeah. And
you often find when it comes to these awards, the Grammys and whatnot, it would have won it, but it lost out to them. That's normally the story that gets remembered, though. The people that did win it, they're not remembered.
No.
It's like these reality shows, these, your X Factors and whatnot. Like Harry Styles now is playing stadiums, but who won it that year? Never hear from him. But yeah, it was the same with Metallica. Metallica was meant to win a Grammy for, I can't remember what it was now, the album they had at the time. I think it must have been And Justice for All, because I think they did win it on the Black album, because the first thing when they accepted the award was Lars Ulrich. He said, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Jethro Tull for not putting out an album this year. Because a big thing that they'd lost out to Jethro Tull. But no one, tell me what that Jethro Tull album was. No. Everyone remembers that Metallica didn't win, not that Jethro Tull did. And, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that opening act, but they won a Grammy over Rush.
No, same here. And I certainly don't know the song Cliffs of Dover. I might have to try and look it up and see what it's all about. But no,
yeah, so Face Up for me was a bit of a misfire. But Where's My Thing is a nice little palate cleanser. And then the Big Wheel for me, it's kind of like if Bravado steps up a gear, and that one, it was like that song was a bit like a pause to take in the view, while Big Wheel keeps things moving again. I quite like Big Wheel. It's another big breezy. I think this is a good driving album, actually. This would be a good album to play during a long drive. I feel that as well with certain songs on Snakes and Arrows, but we'll cover that in a few weeks' time. But yeah, Big Wheel I quite like. Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a particularly standout song. It's
a
bit of a filler song, actually, but I like it. It's a good filler.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind the song at all. It's a nice way to open the second side of the album. Obviously,
are we still on two sides of an album at this point?
Well, I've still got.
You did get the vinyl, did you?
I've got the vinyl, but this marks an ending for me. This is the last album that I actually got on vinyl with Rush. Everything else from here was CD.
Right.
Because I think at this point they were really phasing out the vinyl altogether, and everything was totally CD. So I managed to get hold of this. And again, I'd have to look at the timings of that. I don't know how long this album is. I don't know whether they were shoehorning everything, but you got the 10 songs on this. Yes, Big Wheel. I quite like the intro. It's quite a big intro, and you've got that sequence synthesized wispy sort of keyboards going on in the background, and you've got, it says here, the subtle country influence that was hinted at on Face Up is fully realized in this song. Lee somehow succeeds in his vocal delivery, performing the verses like a weathered troubadour. Another of the band's experiments with a more conversational approach to the vocal performance. Says here, tackling the enormous subjects of work, faith, failure, and love, framed once again within the theme of fortune. This song is an example of Peart's newly favoured technique of writing what are apparently more personal lyrics in order to cover the grander subjects of humanity. Despite the sense of revelation, Peart has explained that while many of his lyrics appear to be autobiographical, they are almost all written from the point of view of a fictional character. So again, on this one, it just says, although the song is one of the simplest in Rush's entire catalogue teetering on the brink of being a run-of-the-mill pop song, the lyric holds numerous treats for the curious listener. The final bridge section of the song subtly switches the words in two common phrases to create the brilliantly multi-dimensional twist of faith and leap of fate. I think there's a certain subtlety to the lyrics on this one. I think the chorus is quite expansive. It's quite simple. Was there anything that leapt out at you lyrically on this one?
No, it's just a effortless listen, really. It just breezes by, you know.
Yeah, I think it's not a song that I would skip. I'm quite happy to listen to this one. I quite enjoy it. It's got a nice feel to it. I've got nothing else to say on it apart from what I've mentioned there, or what I got from the book. That's fine.
Right, what's the next track?
Heresy.
Heresy, that's it. Yeah, that's another good one. Nice bit more keyboards in this one, isn't there? And it's again, it's okay. I think I've repeated myself, but it's another breezy, open sort of atmospheric song. I like the way it kicks in a bit as it goes on, but no, yeah, this is another good one for me.
Have you got any notes on it at all, or anything? No. Okay. I've got. I'll put something.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of something like U2 would have put out in their later.
Possibly.
Not around this time, but later albums sort of.
No. Well, it says here, for Heresy is written in response to the dismantling of the Berlin Wall and the subsequent failure of the Soviet Union and Warsaw Pact. Heresy is perhaps the angriest lyric Piet has ever put to paper. Heresy is powerful in its frustrated surrender. There is nothing to do except to move on. Years of Cold War fear, suffering, and poverty have ruined the lives of millions and wasted untold fortune on military build-up, all for ideology's sake. And now it is over. With the question, who will pay? While the first two verses deal with the very real suffering that those behind the Iron Curtain had to endure, the final verse refers to Piet's own experience as a child being told about Canada's potential involvement in a nuclear war, with the line, all the crap we had to take, bombs and basement fallout shelters, all our lives at stake. The final sentence subtly referencing the song's relevance to the album's overall theme of chance.
That makes it a lot better.
It does. There is another little bit on this. Countering the furious lyric is a relatively laid-back, somewhat somber piece of music, with licensed singing guitar solo providing the solace to an otherwise dark piece. Drums are inspired by a particular beat that Piet heard on his travels in West Africa, and this pattern was later incorporated into one of Piet's solo pieces, Mama's Dance Party. Again, I can hear that, but it comes in almost with that military style drumming at the very beginning. And you can imagine soldiers marching to that beat.
Yeah.
The parade of soldiers, can't you? On the surface of it, it comes across as something quite, as you said, it is quite breezy, just the way it comes across, but it is actually quite a somber song. Certainly lyrically, it is anyway. But yeah, I think well executed musically as well. It makes it downbeat.
You know? Yeah, no, I've got that. I'm just trying to think of the drums now, but yeah,
there's a lot of snare work going on there, and then you're just getting them boom, boom. It just holds the whole thing down on that intro, and then of course you get the guitar soaring in over the top of it. So typical Rush in that respect. Typical Rush.
Yeah, so quite a somber song, but the next one is as well, really, and that's "Ghost of a Chance." It starts
Yeah,
off with a sort of opening, kind of country flavored riff, with that down, not really country, no, more like an old classic rock and roll
yeah,
riff.
that's
Kind of
what
has
it.
that more
Yeah,
guitar
I
tone.
think
Um,
it's to do with his guitar tone on
yeah,
this. It's quite jangly, isn't it?
but
And almost thematic again.
yeah,
You can imagine it on an old Batman episode. Down, 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 down.
yeah, and
It's, you know,
funny enough, I watched what I was brought on telly the other day, the original Batman,
oh, with
not
yeah,
Adam West,
not
before
Adam West, no,
so
before
it's
him,
black and white,
yeah,
where they're racing around in an old Beetle. It's really funny, and it's funny as well because Bruce Wayne's girlfriend comes round, and her name's Vicky Vale, and that's who Kim Basinger plays in the
yeah, yeah,
1989 one. So they kept. I thought it was quite funny how they.
yeah,
I didn't notice that little detail before. I was like, oh, so she was an original character,
yeah, yeah,
but yeah, it was quite amusing to watch. But yeah, but Ghost of Chance, well, it sort of starts off again. I referenced him earlier, but if I was to guess from those opening calls, I'd think I was listening to an REM song. Um, so it starts off quite rocky enough, I suppose, for want of a better term. We got that nice riff opening the song, but it does sort of slow down as the song goes on and goes very somber. And then you got that nice little, it comes
yeah.
in.
That real melody, that hook
Yeah,
melody
this
on the
is
guitar.
quite a melancholic song,
Yeah.
and but it comes to a nice solo towards the end, and then just sort of grinds to a halt, really. But
Well, it does, doesn't it? It just sort of
and
gracefully.
as mentioned earlier, Alex said that this is one of his favourite
Yeah,
solos. In the...
it's one of his favourite ones, and it's something that he said that, and he has mentioned it. He said when they have played this live, and they've played it a few times live. It wasn't a staple for live shows, but it would come and go.
Mm.
He said even though he would get close to it live to get that feeling and the emotion, he said I could never quite capture quite how I got it on the record. He said I'm
You
getting
hear
there.
about that, yeah,
Yeah,
quite.
he said, and whilst he'll do a good rendition of it, he said it just didn't quite hit the nub for him. Like he said with regards to the bravado, the solo on that as well. I've got on this, it says while Rush have generally avoided the cliche of the traditional love song, Ghost of a Chance approaches the subject of love from a logical perspective, considering the almost infinite number of different paths that two people may take away from each other, and yet that couples still find each other, love each other, and stay together. Right, okay, switching between an upbeat blues groove in the verse through to a laid-back and string-laden chorus. The song is a fine example of Rush's use of light and dark, or light and shade in their songs. Brilliantly expressive solo from Lifeson is the only break from the standard verse-chorus structure of this extremely simple but well-crafted song, which Piet regards as one of our all-time good ones. Another rare hit single for Rush, hitting #1 spot in the US rock radio charts, which is what you were saying anyway. You sort of imagine it again getting some sort of airplay. It's quite quaffable, isn't it? It's a
That brings to mind as well was the Robert Plant song, solo song. Is it?
which one?
Can't remember the number, but it's something Psalms.
Can't remember it now. Can't remember the title. Yeah,
that one.
yeah. I mean,
That's got a nice sort of
yeah,
country. bluesy.
Well, he went more that way anyway, Plants,
Yeah.
didn't he? I mean, certainly the stuff he did with Alison Krauss,
Mm.
Raising Sands. I mean, I've got that album. That is a nice album, and there's some good bits on it. Very much countrified. And then, of course, he did his own version of Band of Joy, which also sort of taps into that. And I see him with the Band of Joy when he toured that album.
I've got to look it up now. The songs, the song title.
But the other song, which was a big hit for
39 Psalm. 39.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. And the other big hit for Robert Plant was Big Log, which was a very
29 Psalms. Sorry. Yeah.
29 Psalms. Yeah. Was also a big hit for him as a solo artist. And that's got that fairly sort of jangly guitar on it as well.
Got to correct myself again. It's not Psalms, it's Palms.
Palms, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so just go. I'm just saying. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
29
palms. Yeah.
29 palms.
So apparently,
I have heard it, but for a long time. But I forgot the song title altogether. Totally. Yeah, I've got nothing more to say about Ghost of a Chance. It's interesting that Lyson rates it as one of his all-time favourite solos, and Peart thinking it is one of their all-time good ones. Again, I wouldn't skip the song. I wouldn't skip over it, but I don't know if I'd put it in my A list of Rush.
No, I think your quote earlier that Alex, rates it quite highly as he's one of his favourite solos, except on this album at least. That's giving it a bit of
yeah.
And I do like the melancholy feel to it. But no, I think it's an okay song.
Oh yeah.
Moving on to a song I don't think is very okay is Neurotica. This one is a dud to me. I don't like the chorus. I don't like the neurotica, erotica, psychotica. It's I don't like this song.
No, I'm not. It's not one of my favourites, I have to admit. I quite like the way it comes in the intro. It actually sort of sets up some sort of promise.
Yeah.
And you've got this
Face Up, really. It just falls.
Yeah. You've got on this one, I think I like the samples of the sounds and everything on this one, because you've got like a synthesized bass. It's got a bass synth. It's not actually bass guitar. A repeating sequence on a bass synth and numerous layers of the keyboards. I think the marriage of that to the sort of harder rock chorus sections, it doesn't quite, to me, it just doesn't quite gel. It's almost like you've got two different songs and you've tried to smash them together. I think they could have been two separate ideas.
And that can, some songs do come together like that as well. They're gone, I've got this song that I didn't know how to start, and I had this other song I didn't know how to finish, and I just Gary Newman did that with Our Friends Electric. And funny enough, Megadeth did it with Holy War. Well, Holy Wars, The Punishment Begins. That's actually because it's two songs put together. But
sometimes it'll work.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just, to me, it just sort of slightly jarring. It just doesn't quite sit right with me on this one. I was just looking through the notes made on this. Right. It says a lyric is a frustrated look at the neurosis that so often spoil the day-to-day life of so many people. The lyric suggests that many are so crippled by insecurity and fear that they find themselves unable to do anything about it. Peart, however, makes clear the gravity of the situation. Life is a diamond you turn into dust. That's probably one of his better lyrics on this one, actually, that line. And firmly urges these people to get on with life and make it work. The casual phrasing of the lyric is an oddity in Peart's canon, Baby, don't you ask yourself why. Very unlike Peter, actually, and is almost jarring in some places. While Neurotica say for a blistering solo from Lifeson is a relatively bland piece.
Mm.
It is nevertheless, it's been listed here, nevertheless, another one of the band's worthy experiments. But I would say in this case, it didn't quite work.
No.
Onto this. I mean, I had a little look through the lyrics, and yeah, I think the chorus is very, like, as you demonstrated very, very well, your impersonation of it. I'm not going to go there. Yeah, but even the, yeah, it just, I don't think they're a bad set of lyrics. I'd be quite pleased to produce something like it, but I think by Peart's own standards, I think possibly not some of his best. I mean, there might be some people out there who think, "Oh, it's a great set of lyrics." Fair enough, but it's not one that sort of inspires me as such.
Yeah. Let's move on then to the closing track, "You Bet Your Life." I think Neurotica really sort of grinds things to a halt for me, but and we're slightly picking up on this one. I could kind of do without the I think they could have come up with something a bit better with the anarchist, reactionary, running dog revisionist, Hindu, Muslim, Catholic creation, evolution. It kind of reminds me of that Billy Joel song, the "We Didn't Start the Fire."
Fire, yeah.
It's just randomly saying famous people's names and it's, yeah. I could have done without that. I think an actual lyric with that melody. I can imagine just "You Bet Your Life" with something in the background. But that probably would have worked, but it isn't working on this. It kind of just rings in the back of your ear in the background.
Well, yeah, it does.
But musically, it's all right. It rolls
quite
nicely and closes the album.
Yeah, it rocks along quite nicely. It's quite musically, it's a good upbeat number and finishes the album that way. It's quite a powerful and exciting way to finish the album. But yeah, I would agree with you on that. I mean, yeah, that it's almost spoken, isn't it? That verse that you put out, and then I've got the second one is "Armchair Rocket Scientist Graffiti Extensionist." Extensionalist. Deconstruction, primitive performance, photorealist, bebop or one drop or hip hop, light pop metalist, gold adult, contemporary, urban, country capitalist. You just think it's, I mean, very clever use of words, but it sort of leaves you feeling a little bit cold, stone cold with it as well, which is a shame. Yeah, I just, yeah, it's, yeah. Again, I think if they were still just doing music to cater for an album, a vinyl album length, I think a couple of these songs would have been outed. And I think I would have said probably these last two would have been the ones that would have been chopped.
Yeah. Right. Well, should we start?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I've got anything else on this. It says here it takes its title from the Groucho Marx game show. Fast-paced rocker exposes sometimes uncomfortable truth that in every single decision we make, we are getting a little portion of our life on it. Oh, we are betting a little portion of our life on it, betting that it will be the best chance we can take and the best decision that we can make. Says here the multi-layered vocal in the chorus made the track one of the most difficult to arrange and mix in the studio. But ultimately, this spoken word backing vocal adds a brilliant harmonic foundation to the chorus, I'm not so sure about that.
Brilliant's a strong word,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. With its compelling imagery, it's perhaps more successful use of the rap influence by the band. Rapid guitar-led groove that drives the track, coupled with Piet's busier drum parts, make this a return to, it says here, return to unadulterated rock, a thrilling finale to the album. You Bet Your Life virtually abandons electronic decoration in favour of the band's traditional staples of bass, drums and guitar. An exciting, powerful end to the album and an intriguing hint of what is to come. I'm not sure if I completely agree with all of that. Again, the only backing musician on this album is Rupert Hine himself, with some of the backing vocals and some of the keyboards on this. Is there anything you wanted to add to
No,
this?
not
I mean,
really. I think I'm happy to wrap
yeah,
up now.
I think, yeah,
For
yeah,
me, this is it's a bag of it's a mixed bag of bones. It's mixed
okay.
results on this one.
Okay.
I feel over this one and the last two albums, it's a trilogy of albums where the band are a little bit, I don't want to say, a little uninspired and a little unsure of what to do. And they know how to craft a song and they know how to think, but they don't seem to be very inspired. And there's moments of brilliance on these three albums. So I would say Hold Your Fire, Presto, and this. Yeah, there's fantastic songs like Time Stands Still, The Pass. What was another one I liked on Presto?
Well,
Available Light I quite liked actually.
Available Light is good, but I quite like Show Don't Tell.
Show Don't Tell as well, and it's the same with this. If I was gonna, if we was a Rush tribute band and we was putting together a set list, I'd be happy to have Dreamline and Bravado in the thing. I'd be happy to play Where's My Thing. Yeah, I don't mind Big Wheel Heresy and Ghost of Chance either, but I think Neurotica and Face Down very much let the album down.
Yeah, I think so.
Roll the Bones as well. I can kind of.
I think Roll the Bones. I think they got away with it on that.
They just about got away with Roll the Bones.
I think Roll the Bones is sufficiently a good enough track to get away with it. I think if it had been an absolute dud, then no, it would have.
Yeah, but
it would have died a death, definitely.
But again, for me, we're still lukewarm on this one. I think a shake up is needed.
Yeah,
but a shake up does come. I'm happy to say.
Yes, it does come. And obviously we'll get on to that. With regards to facts,
well, give us your closing thoughts as well. I sort of took over that bit.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And say if you've got, have you got any other closing thoughts, or was that was it? I'll just take a line from the rap of Roll the Bones, but it says here, Jack, relax, get busy with the facts. Okay, here we go. The facts of the Roll the Bones tour.
As a good little intro to that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. You see how I shoehorned that in? I got it in there. There we go. This was a bigger tour, Roll the Bones. It was 101 dates, and it was more of a world tour, which they toured here in Europe. They did 6 dates here in the UK and 6 in Germany, and I think it was 1 in France and 1 in Holland. They toured this album for 8 months, stretching from the end of October 91 to the end of June in 92. The songs they played from this album: Dreamline, Bravado, Roll the Bones, Ghost of a Chance, and Where's My Thing.
So there are 5 songs of it.
There's 5 songs off of this album, which is basically what they did on the previous album.
So half, yeah.
It's half of the numbers. I didn't see them at this point. I mean, I had the first of my I had a son who was barely 1, so I wasn't going to gigs at this point. I was too busy being a dad. So I definitely missed out on a lot of, pretty much all their 90s tours.
I did look up the tour actually. I think they played Wembley Arena.
Yes, they
time.
did. They did
Yeah.
2 nights at
2
Wembley.
nights at Wembley Arena. Well, that's not so bad.
They did 2 at Wembley and 2 in Birmingham. I think one up in Glasgow. I think one in Sheffield. I think was another one.
Oh, so it's not so, yeah, that's still
But they were
respectful numbers. Yeah.
and so they did
But they
half a
hadn't played
dozen.
here in a while at that point.
No,
So
they hadn't.
yeah.
No, they say it would come and go. But this one, obviously, the album sales and the demographic of the album sales sort of inspired them or gave them reason to come over. Chart positions. In Canada, this was number 11. Here in the UK, it was number 10. And in the US, it was number 3. So it did pretty well in the US. And I think they end up, but they were always playing the US anyway. I mean, the US is a big money-making machine anyway.
Yeah.
So, I don't. Obviously, you've already mentioned about the artwork getting an award.
I like the album cover actually.
I like the album cover. Yeah, it.
I found a pretty good version of it as the thumbnail for this show as well. So I found it quite a while ago, and I thought, oh, I'm grabbing that. It's been sitting on my desktop for about a month now, in anticipation for this show. But
I think the only other little bit of info on this, already said about Rupert Hine being the only additional musician on this album, but it says here, Alec Lifeson, however, does provide backing vocals for the first time since the band's debut. It doesn't say what songs, but apparently he does a little bit of backing vocals on this album. So there you go. Brought to you by the letter B.
I can never
for whatever reason. And also notes are concluded by a short cryptic phrase, "Now it's dark," a reference to the David Lynch film Blue Velvet. That's it. Just little bits of info, throwaway info from what I've got in front of me. So there we go. I've got nothing more to say about it, Joe. I feel fairly much the same as you. I think there are a couple of cracking songs on this album, but I think there are also some songs that are not so good.
Yeah, it's some songs really let the album down, and some songs save the album for being a complete. Yeah, and it's kind of not. I'm not quite sure how bad one drags one down or one lifts the other up. But
I think your term, it's a mixed bag of bones, I think is very apt.
Yeah, but we're in a bit of a, for me anyway, personally, I think we're in a bit of a lull in the band's back catalogue, but we do come out of it. And I'm looking forward to the next string of albums. But then I've seen comments saying, Hold Your Fire is their favourite album. Okay.
That's fair enough.
I did say at the time, it does seem to divide opinion. It does, that particular album does have its we found articles of people defending it. So
yeah, well, I think the fact that it's actually appeared on these sort of forums, justify your bad taste, etc.
I like I much enjoy reading, and then we'll give an album another chance off the back of no, actually, this album's really good and this album's underrated. I'd rather watch someone passionately argue that an album is underrated than a snarky album is overrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like championing an underdog, but
absolutely. And
like I say, these 3 albums, although they're my least favourite, Rush on a bad day, I can still cope with.
You can still cope with it, and it's still worth a listen. But such is the success of them and their longevity that they actually got to this part of going through a bit of a down era, if you want to put it that way. They've been around long enough, so
they're entitled to it.
Exactly, and they carry on. So, which we'll carry on next time.
Okay, folks. Well, that concludes another episode of Rushcast. Join us next week when we check out Counterparts. And I do aim to get these out every Friday. I'm not sure what we're going to be able to do next week because we've got a bit of an odd me and Paul are both on nights next week, and I've got an extra one to do. So we're going to discuss after this when we're going to record next. So this next week's episode will be out, I think, slightly later than usual, but keep checking. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get a notification when it's up anyway. But yeah, hang on. Like I say, I aim to get them out on a Friday, but I think it might be slightly later this time around. It might even be later on a Friday. We'll have to see what we'll have to discuss what we're up to.
Yeah,
but yeah, check it. It will be there before you know it. So a slightly delayed episode next week, but it will be out soon. So yeah, Rush Counterparts. Join us for that. Listen to Counterparts coming up to it, and then discuss it with us. What do you think of what we do? Roll
the Bones.
I had a brain fart then. What do you think of Roll the Bones? What's your least favourite? Do you like the song Roll Your Bones? Do you like the rap? Did you see the tour? What's your hidden gem on this? What do you think is an underrated song? And yeah, join us next week for Counterparts and let us know what you think of these. And I say, this is your show as well as it is ours. So let us know. Join in the conversation in the comments. If you've made it this far, give us one of them. If this is your first show, welcome aboard. Go back to the beginning and work your way through the catalogue with us. And I think that's about it from Rushcast this week. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Yeah. I shall see you all later, folks. Take care.
Cheerio, folks. Bye-bye.